Cowabunga it is.
Sweetheart. Thanks so much for having us here today. My name's Michaela. I'm currently a senior at the University of Richmond. I'm a proud conservative surrounded by liberals every day of my life.
Round of applause for her.
But I'm here today wearing my proud member of the Basket of Deplorables shirt. I think this question is probably geared toward Candace, but I'm curious for everyone else's opinions as well. I was raised by 3 very strong women, and something my grandmother always taught me was that women weren't created to do everything a man can do. Women were created to do everything a man can't do. So I guess my question is, what is your response to these radical feminists that we deal with today?
Well, you know, I always get in trouble for talking about feminism because there's 2 things I want to do in life. First is to lead a Black and Hispanic revolution and freeing minds. The second thing is to destroy radical feminism. Like, I am so proudly not a feminist, and I am talking about the interpretation of a third wave feminist. I actually did an interview the other day with the Washington Post, and I said, the closest thing that I've seen to white supremacy in my life is radical feminists, okay? They believe they can do anything. Christine Blasey Ford, I'm white, privileged, crying, just believe women. Believe women. That's how my ancestors got hung from trees. That's how Emmett Till got tarred and burned, just believing women because their allegations should be believed, okay? So the first thing, that's the first thing that I'll say to you is that I hate feminism. And your grandmother, did you say, or godmother? Absolutely right. There is something symbiotic and biblical in the first chapter of the Bible in Genesis when they talk about creating Eve, right? From his rib, from Adam's rib, she was created. Actually, I was speaking to John Boyd about this. You'll see on my upcoming podcast. He says that in that way, women are actually closer to God. There's a symbiotic nature of a man and a woman that the left is trying to actively destroy. They want to actively destroy it because, as I said, that is the way that they can destroy the family. They can destroy the family by taking out the man, by telling women, you should aspire to work and not take care of your kids. Why wouldn't you want to take care of your children? We birthed those children. We should be raising those children. Not culture, not Beyonce, not Jay-Z. And I'll tell you this, the reason why I speak out all the time against radical feminism, I was the very first person that I know, pundit and who spoke out against the Me Too movement, and I was roundly condemned by the left and the right. They said, you can't do that, you can't talk about the Me Too movement, it's about rape victims. Why do you think the left did that? Because they didn't want you to talk about it. They wanted to silence you. They wanted to give themselves all power to say, you can't talk about it because now it's rape. There is no topic that is above intellectual debate, rape included, okay? The Me Too movement was dressed up as something that was meant to give them supreme powers they could go after and they could take out their political opponents, period. That is what the Me Too movement was, okay? And because I actually care about rape victims, I speak out against radicalized feminists. I speak out against radicalized movements. The only way we are going to kill radical feminism is every woman in this room needs to speak out against it regularly, okay? We have to destroy it because what they'll say about men if they say anything about it is they'll Me Too them. They'll Me Too men for critiquing the Me Too movement. Seriously, I'm not kidding. We have to defend our boys. They are our husbands, they are our sons, and they are our fathers. That is what I would say. Want to go on this side?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thanks to all of you for coming, and all of you for coming as well. This is what it's all about. I'd like to address, and I guess this is primarily for Dinesh, but I'm interested in hearing what all of you have to say, in regards to the constitutional militia, which I believe the government over the past several decades has intentionally vilified the idea of citizen soldiers or people being prepared to defend the Constitution in this country. And I think it is a critical part of the checks and balances. That's why the founders put it in the Constitution. That's why they put it in the Second Amendment for our right to bear arms. And I just wanted to know your take on the constitutional militia and the role that it plays in our checks and balances, and what we can possibly do within the freedom movement to non-vilify the militia. Because this country would not have been born without the constitutional militia.
Wow, Mr. Jackson, I noticed you quickly handed me the mic. Thanks a lot. Well, look, I got to think about that one, but I'll say a couple things. My wife's Venezuelan, and in Venezuela, what the government did is they knew that they were going to unleash the fury of the state against the citizens. They knew they were going to release large numbers of criminals from the jails and weaponize them against the citizens. So before they did that, they had a 5-year take away everybody's guns campaign. Massive propaganda, turn in your guns, guns are dangerous, people in body bags. They collect, and once that was done, the citizens, you can see them now, they're defenseless against the government. The other thing that's worth noting is that in our own society, it used to be the case if they wanted to arrest you, you'd have 2 guys who come to your door with a folder and they'd ask you to show up the next morning. Now, it's police cars, helicopters above, SWAT teams, guns. So we have weaponized and militarized our own government, and not just against the mafia or ISIS, but against our own citizens. And that's a very worrisome trend. So the Second Amendment, I think, burns bright as a thin line of defense against some very worrying things that have been happening around the world and in our country.
Well, thank you, Dinesh. I will add this as a lawyer. Our Constitution is fundamentally based on the principle of natural law, that there are rights inherent in who we are as human beings, and that the Constitution doesn't give us those rights. It simply secures those rights. It acknowledges that the government is formed to keep those rights secure. One of the most fundamental rights of a human being is the right of self-defense. And that's defense not only against crime, somebody trying to come into your home, that's defense against tyranny, people attempting to take away your freedom inappropriately. And I think that therefore the constitutional militia, the concept at least, is completely and totally within the bounds of the Constitution. Of course, governments don't like it, the state doesn't like it, the deep state doesn't like it, because they want to be able to control people. That's what this whole socialist movement is all about. So I trust that we'll never get to a point where people start saying, well, we need to disarm the American people. We're going to have a little bit of a problem when that happens.
Amen.
Good afternoon. A lot of people, as we know, equate the MAGA hat with the clothing worn by the KKK. It's troublesome, to say the least. I recently saw the Black Klansman, and since we're mostly Virginians here probably, I wondered if anybody wanted to speak on Charlottesville and maybe what we should know, what the media hasn't really told us, maybe your feelings on Charlottesville and those types of incidents, or even the film, or that parallel between the MAGA hat and the hood.
Yeah, I want to say, first of all, that the MAGA hat and a Klan's hoodie is absolutely a ridiculous comparison. There is nothing wrong with making America great again. I don't. They make up all of this propaganda surrounding whether or not it's evil. That's their fault. That's their issue. We understand what it means and we support that. And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to say about that, I saw this actually, I think it was a meme on Instagram, and it was so accurate. It said, the MAGA hat is not a symbol of hate. It actually exposes the symbols of hate. Okay? It's like a superpower. Suddenly you can see everybody in the room that's hateful because they come up to you, they try to attack you, and that's really what the MAGA hat means. And it's the most liberating thing in the world, okay? And you heard my story. My grandfather, the KKK used to shoot into his home at night. The most liberating thing in the world for me is wearing my MAGA hat through the airport the 6 days a week I travel and letting people know, you can't tell me what to do because of the color of my skin.
Well, I was going to say, look, I went to Charlottesville and gave a speech on race while I was running for office, and I got into trouble kind of like the president did, because I said, look, there was lawlessness and racism on both sides of that equation, but you know, you can't say that. But I would say that this, in addition, everybody knows that the Ku Klux Klan and skidheads are a bunch of idiots. Everybody knows that. It's these Antifa people who have the cover of the media and the colleges and the universities and a lot of the cultural influences who are given all of this credibility and credence, and Black Lives Matter too, that are really stoking the racism because they have so much influence. And here again, we're here, and I know you all are here too, to stand up against this mess and put a stop to it.
Here we come to what is really a mortal weakness on our side, which is that the left constructs these narratives, and they truly stage them. That's not a wrong way to put it. The whole Unite the Right rally, even the name is suspicious, was organized by a left-winger, a guy named Jason Kessler, who is a Obama guy and an Occupy Wall Street guy. So think about this. What is the chances of an Obama guy, an Occupy Wall Street guy, becoming a white supremacist? It doesn't make any sense. This was on the Southern Poverty Law Center website. The media knew about it, but they decided to suppress it, say nothing about it. In my movie, Death of a Nation, one of the climactic scenes is I interview the poster boy of white supremacy, Richard Spencer. And it's a very interesting interview. It's not what I would call a lawyer's cross-examination. I just ask him open-ended questions. What do you think of Reagan? Don't like him. Who's your favorite president? Woodrow Wilson. What do you think of the pro-KKK movie, Birth of a Nation? Great movie. It becomes really obvious as you're watching this that this guy is not on the right. He agrees with Trump on nothing, not even immigration. He's on the left. He calls himself a progressive. Now, the left is not going to report this, but we need more journalism on our side to bring out these facts. That's where we're weak.
How you doing? Good to see you again. Can I hold it?
Hi, I'm Chandler Purum. Some of you may know me, some of you might not. My question's mostly to Dinesh D'Souza, but before I give it, I'd like to thank him for coming to speak at this event, spitting some great facts, and also for following me on Twitter. Thank you. All right. So, as of late, I've been doing some research on the Republican Party, and I keep seeing this one word, lily white, but it's really hard to find information on this that seems factual and seems real. And so I'm wondering if you could enlighten me and the crowd a bit more about this lily white movement within the Republican Party that was back in the day.
Well,
Guys, sorry, I just want to say before, just for time, because I don't want you guys all to stand there and be disappointed. We're going to take 2 more on that side, so these 2 ladies, and then we're going to take 2 more on this side, up till the MAGA hat. I'm sorry, guys, we're just going to be pressed for time after that. I didn't want to make you guys stand and then be disappointed, because I hate when that happens.
a lot of my work in the last few years has been almost a job that begins with re-educating myself. Because I realized that many of the things that I've believed since the 1980s, that I knew to be true, are not true. I thought fascism was always on the right. In fact, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I'd say, well, yeah, communism is on the left, and fascism is on the right. And in fact, I thought that in part because in World War II, you see the communists, the Soviets on one side, you see the Nazis on the other. So we have bought into a lot of things. It suddenly dawned on me as I began to dig into this and as I found one spin after another, I realized that virtually everything that we call history is in fact progressive history. It is written by a generation of people who came to power really starting after World War II. And they have written the history books and they have spun the narrative. Now, I'm not saying they're outright liars, but I'm saying that they do downplay or leave out facts inconvenient to their side. So when I made the statement earlier about slavery, this fact, I tell you, is a fact and yet appears in no textbook. It's never been on the History Channel. It's not in Wikipedia. You won't find it anywhere. So how can something be true and relevant and yet none of us have heard about it, even though we all read exhaustively on the topic? And the answer is that we have been sold a line. And part of it is we have allowed academia and the media and Hollywood to run away from us. They control the megaphones. So all these terms have to be viewed with suspicion. You've got to go back and say, what are they trying to do here? What is the actual truth behind this? All I'll tell you is that the Republican Party was literally called by Stephen Douglas, Abraham Lincoln's antagonist, the Black Republican Party. And he meant that as an insult. And he used that term because particularly in the South, virtually 99% of all African Americans were Republicans.
Take this question here.
Hello. Hi. This is more of I want to thank you, Dinesh, because I've been a Republican since 2004. I walked away from the Democratic Party back in 2000.
Can you get closer to the mic?
And I'm really grateful for all what you have done because from right now, from what I see, I'm so happy there's so many people here because when everything started to kick off back then, it was like being lonely. You didn't have this, and other individuals on the same side. And, from the Tea Party on, your film that came out, Dr. Savage, it was all just talk radio. And I understand what you're saying when everything is just, there's history, there's information that's not being revealed, the true depth of the information. And it's so important for everybody to be proactive and to become citizen journalists, to speak out and to be proactive in your communities and to stand up to these politicians, especially now to Governor Northam for, this abortion, 1 minute they're saying, oh, abortion is okay, if it's early, but now they're killing the child, basically killing a full-blown baby. And I just want to thank you, Dinesh, for all the work that you have done, because it's been a very long, hard road. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You, sir.
Hello, my name's Bedlam, and this question is a little bit different than what we've had here this evening. So this is going to be geared a little bit more towards Dinesh, but if you have wisdom, you may weigh on this as well.
No, let's let Dinesh take all the heat. I'm good with that.
No disrespect, I promise. Last year, I was attacked coming from a punk rock show by 20 Antifa, and I had to fight my way for my life. I got stabbed, and I saved my friend's life by stabbing 3 Antifa members back last year in Shakopee. Smash the Reds, right? My question is, I've read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. I've read the Antifa handbook. I've read the IRA handbook. I'm well-versed on this subject. How do we stop these people from attacking us? How do we stop them from doxing us, getting them fired from our jobs, even though we're not racist or civic nationalists? We care for everyone in this community here, and I'll gladly stand behind everyone in this theater and take a bullet for them. But how do we stop them? How do we stop these so-called shock troops? And I want to hear this.
Proud of your boy.
So I'm going to give you the soft core strategy and the hard core strategy. So the soft core strategy is that we're in general the party of the nice guys, and we tend to. I'll give an example, which is a little controversial but worth thinking about. Rutgers University a couple of years ago invited Condoleezza Rice to be the graduation speaker. And there was a ruckus on campus. We're never going to let her set foot on the campus. And Condoleezza Rice, who's the lady, says, okay, I'll withdraw. If you don't want me, I don't want him. I'm not going to come. And this is the Republican way, to be nice about it, to be gracious, to show manners. But the problem with this is that the left interprets this the following way. Big win for the left. If Condoleezza Rice is not going to set foot at Rutgers, no conservative it will ever set foot on Rutgers again. So part of what we've got to realize is we can't send this message of being the party of invertebrates. We got to toughen up. Now, when it came to the attention of Abraham Lincoln in the early years of the war that the Confederacy was executing black soldiers captured by the Confederates, they wouldn't execute the white soldiers who were kept to be exchanged, but the black soldiers would be shot. And when this came to the attention of Abraham Lincoln, Lincoln issued what to my mind is the harshest executive order to come from the northern side. For every black soldier shot by the Confederacy, one Confederate soldier will be executed. Why? Why would a moderate man like Lincoln do something like this? Basically, Lincoln reasoned that the only way to make them stop is to do to them what they're doing to us. That's the only way. Now, just to close my thought, frankly, I'm not saying that we should go Antifa on liberal speakers. No, but what I am saying is that enforcing the First Amendment, particularly on a state university campus, is a supreme federal responsibility. And if things got out of hand at Berkeley, in my opinion, and I was Trump, I would send in the National Guard. Yes, sir.
Hello, Candace. God bless you and all of the team. I'm Bishop Leon Benjamin, and I'm also the city Richmond GOP chair for the Republican Party. This was so timely, and you know, we talked when I saw you at the White House. This is what is needed for Richmond, because right now we have a divide, and we need to be able to take a movement like BLEXIT and other movements to say we are one, we are talking as one voice, and we mean what we say. We will be free. And so my thing is what got me too, that you guys are not afraid to talk about God. You're not afraid to talk about Jesus. And so what I want to know is, how can we not be not ashamed of talking faith and politics together on the same platform? Please help us.
Okay, all right, Bishop Benjamin. Thank you for that easy question. Look, by doing what you're doing, obviously, it's a learning process. Candace and I were together at a dinner last night. We talked about the fact that we just have to be relentless in offering up the truth. And the truth of the matter is, there wouldn't be a nation without the church, because churches and pastors were in the forefront of the Revolutionary War. There wouldn't have been a civil rights movement without the church, because the church was in the forefront of that effort. And the fact of the matter is, there wouldn't be an America as we know it today, because we are all blessed because people who went before us have been praying and seeking God's face. And there's just no way in the world we can ever give that up. So I tell people this, and I'll stop before I preach. See, you got me. I tell people, forget about thinking of it as politics and thinking of it as prophetic ministry. Was it politics when Moses went down and told Pharaoh, God said, let my people go? Was it politics when Nathan went to David and said, somebody stole one poor man's ewe lamb? And David said, who is this man? Let's kill this man. He said, you are the man. And was it politics when Elijah told Ahab and Jezebel that you are hurting the land of Israel and God's going to judge you for it? So as far as I'm concerned, I would not be fulfilling my prophetic responsibility if I didn't stand up and say what thus saith the Lord in the midst of a sick and dying world.
There's only one side of the political equation that cheers for God, and we know that that is to be on the